flux column has what's known as 4 bubble plates, and each one of these windows is a section with a floor in it, and that floor has a big hole, and that hole has a piece of copper, kind of like a cup, inverted on top of that hole. Steam is allowed to pass through the hole, under the cup, and over it again, and go through the next hole and engage the next cup. And each time it does that, more water condenses in here, and the alcohol vapor continues. Okay? So the water and other things that condense here are allowed to drop back into the pot through the use of valves. The steam that makes it through the bubble plates then passes through this chamber, which has 20 thin copper pipes in a cold water bath. So more condenses here, but the steam that makes it through is even more pure alcohol. Then it passes through basically this strange honeycomb of copper plates. The steam continues past here and goes to the condenser. I can put something in here that's 10% alcohol, and coming out the bottom here will be something that's 90% alcohol. And it'll stay that way for a goodly amount of time. I was actually very surprised the first time I used it what actually happens here. This is the same sort of still that people make gin with. Absolutely. So this basket actually is for the purpose of making gin or other extracts, and it fits into the orifice between the pot and the chapiteau. And there's a little bar for this thing to hang on. And you could put plant materials in here, and all the alcohol vapors would have to pass through it in order to get to the condenser. I used to say, I'll never use one of these. I don't want to. And after using one, well, I can see why people would want to, but I'm still happy with the pot still. Eventually, I probably will make something like gin with this. And, I make absinthe, and absinthe is very much like, making absinthe is very much like making gin. It's, herbs and alcohol and distilled, and they're very much cousins in terms of the process and even in the final product. The only difference is the plant materials used, really. So, like I was saying, there's a bigger one of these on the boat right now from Germany, and I know that we're going to use it. One of the things I'll get to do with it is make grain mashes that are much heavier in grain, and I'll be able to distill it without, in a water bath instead of direct fire where it would burn easy. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with the bigger Holstein we're getting, is distilling some whole grains and using that for blending. So I'm pretty excited by that prospect. Somebody was asking how much this stuff costs. This particular unit costs $30,000. The company that makes these things usually makes them much larger. And this small unit for experiments, they only make one of these about every 5 or 6 years, they say. And there's one person who has to make all this stuff by hand. And it's apparently, well, the one that's 10 times its size costs about the same price.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Crazy. And this thing arrived, and I had to assemble it, and it came with a book, but it didn't tell you how to use it. And so I had to figure out all the plumbing on it and everything and make it go, and well, we did. I'm actually pretty happy with it. This thing fit on these prefab casters. It came like that from the hardware store, and a metal foot fit right in the middle of it. I couldn't believe it. You can wheel it around, plug it in. I had to make me a really long extension cord so I can pretty much use it in one room or the other if I want. And anyway, like I said, 2 years ago I wouldn't have ever thought I'd be using one of these, and I actually rallied against them. But now that I've used it, I really love it, and we'll find more interesting things to do with it in the future, I'm sure. Okay, I want to go to the other still room.